keep going. Yeah.
Yeah.
There's.
Hey, everyone.
Good morning. But yeah, there's already 3 people that are sick that are tested positive, and he's still trying to like get it to where. Well, I guess if there's I thought I turned the volume down on this. Oh,
There's always one.
Glenn, you use it headphones, brother?
Yeah, sorry.
Okay.
I just was grabbing some Tylenol, sorry.
Okay. So Tobin was just telling us that Kendra's job is shut down because 3 people got tested positive for COVID.
Yeah.
And I remember you saying, Tobin, that a lot of people at her work aren't vaccinated.
yeah.
Tobin, do you have any idea of what the vaccination rates would be in your area?
I haven't looked into it, but from the sounds of it, there's. I don't think they're getting the vaccine. That like the thought of the majority of this area is like anti-vaccines and stuff like that. Like one of the tables, Kendra had told her customer, it was just in conversation that she had gotten the vaccine, and the lady was like, "Oh, I'm sorry for you, honey." Like it was, I don't know. She's told me
God,
of some experiences.
that's so ignorant.
She has told me of some experiences that make me think, and from my experience of being in this town, I think there's probably the majority of them have not.
Yeah. We've had. Sorry, Tobin, are you done? Sorry, I just want to say something.
Yeah,
because I've had actually raging arguments on Facebook because we're introducing vaccine passports in Ontario, and so if you want to go into a restaurant, you have to be you have to show proof and all this and this and this, and basically you got these people going, my civil rights, and my liberties, and I'm going, every single thing that you have to show passport for is not a right, it's a privilege. You don't have a right to go to a pro football, to a pro baseball game, or to a hockey game, or because Maple Leaf Sports and Entertainment are on the Raptors, the Leafs, and the soccer team, the MLS team, the TFC, have all said that if you're not vaccinated, you're not coming to any of the games. And so and it's extending to travel and all that. And then basically people are going, it's my civil rights and civil liberties. And I'm going, none of that stuff is a right. You don't have a right. I can't go to the U.S. border and say, I demand to be let into your country. I'd be told to go to...
it's something that just popped back in my mind, what I was talking about. It's weird because when this all started, I remember Paul's fucking reaction was just like not very concerned about what was going on, and it's crazy because he is now. Like it's like now that there's like people, it's just messed up. That kind of like it's fucked up.
Yeah.
We could have all just chilled and
Yeah. And I've also
no reason for us to all get together at this point. Yeah. I mean,
well, I also had because there was this girl that I know. There's this girl I know, and she's with this all my civil liberties and stuff like that, and she seems like a very nice person, which means she's very easily impressionable.
Yeah.
So it seems like she can get really turned by something, which makes me think that she got and they then started on the whole thing of this is how Nazi Germany started, and I absolutely fucking no, I absolutely fucking lost it because my grandparents My grandparents fled Germany in the 30s, and if it wasn't because they left Germany and came back, and then got questioned by the secret police, and they left. And if they hadn't left, I'm not here.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
and then I had some dipshit friend of hers goes, oh, I guess he doesn't know that it didn't start with concentration camps. I'm going, thanks for mansplaining the fucking Holocaust to me, to someone whose grandparents fled Germany. Like, thank you very much, because without your superior knowledge, I wouldn't have known what happened in the Holocaust. You know.
Yeah.
And it pisses me off to no extent, because I said this, and I've said this to quite a few people. Unless the end result of you not being vaccinated is you being marched into cattle carts to gas chambers, there is no comparison. And there's certain things I can take in stride, and there's certain things I can make a joke about. That I will never. I will not back down. I will not compromise on that. You know, I'm an atheist, but that doesn't mean that I don't look back on 6 million of my descendants that was slaughtered because of their religion. You know.
Yeah.
And I had quite a few people, and I had, like, even on her feed, like, I had like 30 people go bravo, like either a like, or like basically liking my comment, because I just get sick and tired. I get sick and tired of, like, I'm getting sick and tired of the bullshit that's related to this vaccine. Don't get it, that's fine, but then just don't expect to get special to be able to enjoy what us people that have actually done the right thing get to enjoy. You know.
D Park says another vaccinated person I know went into the hospital yesterday. How about that?
Yeah.
What did I cop today? It was that the vaccine is proven not to work.
Jesus.
And I just read back, proven, full stop. So where is your proof? And they I have to look it up. But oh my god, it just is so infuriating.
Yeah.
I wrote this post this morning about Joe Rogan saying that ivermectin is the red pill, and every once in a while, whenever I write one of these shitty blog posts, I get so frustrated. I just break the third wall, and just start writing from the author's point of view. And I put in 2 links about why is scientific consensus so important. So it's basically a third grader, something that a third grader can understand. Basically, why is scientific consensus important? Was one of the links I put in there, and then the other one was, how do you identify a conspiracy theory? Was the other one. But it's like pissing in the wind. It's like pissing in the wind. You know, you expect to get some piss on you, basically, when you do something like that, unfortunately. What's up, Simply Secular Dave? I didn't say hello to you.
Hey, Dave.
Oh, I didn't even move my microphone over yet.
Oops.
It's going well out west, and in Canada here, we're all applying for our vaccine passports because we like sporting events and restaurants and going out and being social and being, leading happy, safe, healthy, wonderful lives.
Are we going to expose some East Coast, West Coast, Canada beef here? Is this it? Is this what we're doing?
No,
Dave?
no, we're on the same page. We're totally on the same page.
Dave,
Yeah.
As far as I've been told, the vaccine passport, as long as you have the thing that Health Canada sends you of your second vaccine, that's a vaccine passport, right?
Well, they gave me mine when I got my second vaccine.
Yeah. That thing they give you that say you've been double vaccinated. That's a vaccine passport, pretty much, right? That is our vaccine passport, right?
Well, it's a vaccine card, but you have to enter that information in the system, because what's going to happen is Health Canada is going to kind of put a check mark on it that yes, this person is approved.
Yeah.
And then when you have your passport, it's just a SKIM card reader, so they'll be able to just green light. Away you go.
Oh, okay. And I guess it's all done online. Like it's not actually physical card type thing, right?
I actually have the page open right now. Yeah.
Can you? Is there any chance you can put the link in the chat, and then I can?
The The link I have is for British Columbia. You'll have to go to the Ontario one.
Oh, okay. Okay, no problem. Okay, cool.
You are in Ontario, right?
Yeah. I've actually got some. I got some really. I'm gonna change it up and talk about some good news. How about that? We did a good news story. So
I just want to talk about John Hudson for a second, and
Okay.
he's doing his hardcore kindergarten time right now, and he says, "I'm with my grandson all day, and I swear all the toys are mating."
Okay. All right. Well, I'm gonna try catch up to her, but but there was a kitten about, I'd say, maybe 4 months ago. We saw a post on Facebook where some knuckle dragging fuckwit threw a tiny little kitten out of a moving car. They didn't think she was going to survive the night. We said right there and then we'd adopt her, and so this is the result. If she doesn't run fucking away, right there.
You're like, oh, hey, there she is. Huh?
Yeah, we
Oh,
named
nice
her
looking
Nibbles because that's exactly what she does all the time. Like
Just
we'd
nibble.
be sleeping and she'll start to nibble on your nose, your ears, your eyes, and everything. She's a very energetic little one. Completely recovered. They didn't think she was going to survive the night. She's completely recovered. She's 4 months old and tiny and cute.
That was quite a catch with that last video you showed.
Oh, with the cat falling? Yeah.
Yeah. I didn't catch
flying. The cat was
it the first
flying,
time. I'm glad you did show it the second time.
Yeah, it's difficult to see because it's a small cat from far away falling 30 feet. Yeah. No one knows how the cat got there.
Yeah.
Well, obviously the cat appeared out of nothing and flew down to the second level, making an appearance in the crowd. And it's obviously the Meowsiah.
The Meowsiah. Oh, what a lead up to that joke. That was a lead up. You had to work that.
Somebody worked together to get that camera shot.
Yeah.
Because they knew it was coming. They had the right camera angle, and somebody brought the cat.
It was a false flag operation.
Well, no. So you're saying, Toby, somebody threw that cat?
Yeah. Some assholes. Like
it wasn't a somebody. It was 3 dogs in a trench coat.
Nice. Right. Yeah.
And somebody said something about Garfield on Monday the 13th.
Oh, Monday the 13th.
Garfield hates Mondays.
And Monday the 13th is the worst of all Mondays, according to Garfield.
Yeah.
I thought all Mondays suck for him.
Yeah, they do.
Well, he hates Mondays.
Monday the 13th is the worst.
I've shared a screen, Andy.
Oh, yeah. What do you got going on, man? I'm sorry, I didn't even see that.
That's all right.
What are we looking at?
Some excellent advice that I found.
Okay.
And isn't that the lesson to capitalism right there? If you're gonna steal weapons, don't get caught. Alright.
Don't get caught.
Say that again. I couldn't make it out, Sam.
Isn't that the lesson of capitalism right there?
Don't
if you're going to steal muffins, don't get caught.
Don't get caught. Yeah.
You can't get caught. You earlier tonight.
Oh, yeah.
I thought it was brilliant.
Yeah.
I had to clip it.
Yeah. My girlfriend and I, we had this discussion about what's fair. Is it okay to get away with something in a capitalist society? You know, if you're not hurting anybody, but you just, it was kind of, I think it was, and I forget the particular, she's actually at work right now, but I think it was the office space argument, right? The office space argument is if you just skim off like a 0.0001 cent from every single transaction in a large system and you take the money in, is that morally wrong? And I'm like, I don't think it is. I don't think it is.
Silly Andy referencing Office Space when they were already referencing a different movie before them.
I know. Yeah.
Yeah. It is messed up. There's another channel I watch every once in a while. It's really kind of hard to watch. because it's called Invisible People, and this guy goes around and he talks to the homeless and he just listens to their story. I think he also does other things like to help them out too. But it's just crazy. Like the last one I watched, the guy was saying that he was a veteran, and he does have benefits coming to him, but he's going through this like chain of events, or
Yeah. There are a lot of people who are just in the underclass that you just don't see, right? Out of sight, out of mind, kind of thing. And homeless people, the elderly who are also poor at the same time, and people with disabilities who are in their apartments for days and days on end. Their number is legion, but you just don't know about it because you don't see them on the streets.
So we had, sorry to bring things down, a royal commission into care settings in the disability field, and I think, and then either intertwined or separately, there was an aged care inquiry as well, but it was sort of kicked off because there was a young lady, I say young, I think mid-30s or so, who died, very disabled, but was found in this cane chair, and it eventually came out that she'd been in this chair for 4 years, and her carer was fleecing her money and sort of stole all her stuff. And
is this the video that you're sharing, Sam? This about the here?
No, this is some other excellent advice that I thought you all should see.
All right.
It's only 20 seconds or so.
Sure. All right, I think I caught up with everything. I thought you became gay from eating chemtrail frogs. I think there's at least one legitimate news source. I think it was from InfoWars, right? From Alex Jones. I think that's true. I saw it on a very reputable site. Okay. That's good, Sam. So now I know what you're doing during the show. You're doing important producer work.
Sorry, I realized that Snapchat filters will pick up faces on the screen, on the computer screen. So I'm trying to watch you and be serious, but
Right. I understand.
And when you chop what you say up into just they're brilliant little one-liners, like that thing about capitalism. I'm gonna make a T-shirt that says that.
That's great.
About the muffins.
About the muffins, yeah.
You guys are making me hungry for muffins.
Yeah, I was
blueberry muffins.
There's I saw this video on look, get a little bit serious. I saw this video on TikTok. There was this guy talking about the Canadian Conservative Party, and their slogan basically, I think, says "Preserve the future." You might, I think that's exactly, and basically he's going. It is pretty much. It's either a person who wrote that the slogan is either an idiot, or they definitely like trying to cater to trying to get votes from the far right because the 14 words. Secure the future. I think it's the exact slogan is secure the future. That's the actual slogan that Aaron O'Toole's party are using, and it's like you're either incredibly ignorant and stupid, or you're just flat out saying, okay, we're just actually gonna try go after the far right vote, which is disgusting. And
I'm sorry, Glenn. So I know what the 14 words are. We must secure the existence of our people. It's white supremacy stuff.
Yeah.
But preserve the future. Preserve, is it 14 letters in that? Is that how does preserve the future feed into the 14 words?
No. It's secure or preserve the future, as in not like 14 words, but it's actually saying it's basically this guy basically said that you're lifting your phrase from the 14 words, like you're just basically using the slogan, and it's basically a basically it's piggybacking off the 14 words, which is just it's like it's disgusting. Like and the problem is, and I said this to my parents. We met my parents up. I met up with my parents for dinner on Saturday. It's so sad when there isn't one candidate up there. The only candidate I would I think is a human being is Jagmeet Singh, and his party would bankrupt the country, at least, and all the other, like Trudeau's ineffective and as corrupt as they come. Erin O'Toole is a pro-life is discussed. Like he's actually said he'd let backbenchers have an open vote on the abortion. As far as and the Canadian the People Party of Canada, or whatever the hell they call it, are just flat out racist, like anti-immigrant assholes. There isn't one good candidate. There isn't one good party to vote for.
What I would say, though, is Trudeau has had the opportunity to be proven a corrupt politician, whereas the other ones have not yet had the opportunity. It doesn't mean they're not corrupt. Yeah.
Well,
nice day. I like that.
I agree with that, but I always said I'll always take the devil, because you know what you're getting with Trudeau, and And I thought the funny thing is, I saw this meme. It's something that said call Justin Trudeau racist. I go, no, he's not. He uses he uses identity politics with the best of them. He's ineffective, but racist he's not.
He did make a poor choice on a Halloween costume.
Oh yeah, 100%. But
has apologized profusely for it.
Yeah.
But there were a large number of people doing it at that time.
Yeah.
And it was of little consequence to his career then. And winding the clock back and saying today's politics don't apply to your 3 decades ago costume. It's like, well, I know. That's why I don't wear it anymore.
Yeah. Yeah. But I mean, it's always said I'm not I'm not conservative in any way, but I've always said that I'm not party affiliated, and I hate people that are just party affiliated and no matter what will vote for the party no matter what. Like they'll vote for the Conservatives under Scheer when he was an unelectable moron that couldn't keep his that couldn't even keep his small lies straight. But I mean, if it was the same thing in Ontario for years. Kathleen Wynne got in. Everyone said, "Oh, Kathleen Wynne's useless," and I go, "Yeah, but the people you're putting forward are so much goddamn worse that you're not going to get people voting for you." So
I would rather have people vote for someone who's far right and incompetent and won't win the election than the far right voting for someone who is competent and will win the election.
Yeah.
What you have to understand about Canadian politics is there's no money in it. All of the good people who could do that job are working in the corporate world for 5 times the pay. So we are not getting, in Canadian politics, there are people who would be the most qualified are working at the best jobs in the corporate world for the most money. And then there are people who are kind of median level who are working good jobs in the corporate world. And then there are the dregs of these people who are running for political office because they cannot get a job in the political world.
Dave, I got a solution for you, and tell me if I'm wrong on this chat panel. What you need is more private money in politics, my friend.
Oh, God, yes.
Have you thought about Americanizing your system?
Andy, I'll meet you in the middle on this one.
Because I know the Prime Minister doesn't actually make as much as people think he does. He only makes only makes like a 100 or something like that. He doesn't even make close. He makes like.
The last time I checked, it was around 150, but it's probably gone up since then with inflation. So
Yeah, but I mean, compared to what the U.S. president makes and stuff, it's nothing. Because I think the U.S. is what 400 a year. Daddy, you might be.
That sounds right. That sounds
400
right.
U.S. so 500,000 Canadian or something.
Yeah.
But we all know that politicians they don't really make most of their money. Typical politicians don't make most of their money from the check that they draw in from their job. It's from both speaking fees, lobbying, all those things.
Well, how much did Barack Obama make per speech after he retired? After he was done, he was making $1 million at least $1 million a speech, I think.
You could argue that he was worth that before he was president because of who he is, where he came from, his experience, and all that.
Yeah.
But when you notice what nobody's talking about now is the $422,000 that Trump was in debt for, that he was basically bankrupt for. But when he came out of office, he had a big pile of money to pay that debt off.
Well, that's what happens when you can fleece your fans, right? You just squeeze them for as much money as you can.
Yeah.
Yeah. The only thing his rallies are missing is the Kool-Aid.
So how much accountability is there in regards to funding with politicians?
What do you mean?
In regards to, I guess once he's in,
Well, it's I know. Yeah. So sorry. I know I saw a story about two of them, Taylor Greene and Boebert, getting potential ethics violations within the election commission because of not declaring things properly. Apparently, Lauren Boebert traveled the circumference of the earth to campaign during her tiny district, and Marjorie Taylor Greene, there was that whole thing of, I think, between her and her husband bouncing money back and forth, basically laundering contributions. So, but it's Andy might better go more in depth on what the actual consequences are.
And that helps me put my question a bit clearer. So I know there's like electoral donations, and they're supposed to be policed somewhat. But then once he's in office, he can't take donations or anything like.
They can raise money for PACs and super PACs, so he can go to a luncheon.
For what? Sorry.
Political Action Committee is a PAC, and what happens is that people donate money. So a PAC could be like the Republican Party PAC or the Future of Conservative America PAC. Wow, you can tell that this is a whole fucking different world over in Australia. What do you mean?
And they're supposed to stay separate from the actual candidate, which never happens.
Yes. So in the United States, I'm just reading from the Wikipedia page right now. Political Action Committee is an organization that pulls campaign contributions from members and donates those funds to campaigns for and against candidates, ballot initiatives, or legislation. So you trust the PAC to support your broad umbrella of topics, right? So you could have a NRA PAC. You could have a PAC that basically lobbies legislators, i.e. bribes them because they contribute to their election.
And how transparent is where that money goes? Is that a stupid question?
I will say that when you see a commercial on TV, like I've seen a bunch of commercials lately about the push for Medicare to negotiate with drug companies in terms of lowering costs, right? So there's this particular ad. It's this elderly woman talking about how she doesn't want the government to control what drugs she can take, right? Which is basically an anti-controlling of the costs of medicine, right? So she is basically arguing the pharmaceutical companies' point. And at the very end, it'll say paid for the blah, blah, blah of America PAC or something like that. And or you'll see something that basically promotes fossil fuel. There's been a bunch of pro-fossil fuel commercials also. And at the end, it'll be Energy for America PAC, which is basically just a conservative PAC that's supporting, the death of the planet for all intents and purposes.
Yeah.
So
the PACs, it's not necessarily a question of tracing where the money goes. You can see what PACs are doing what by them putting their name on it. They usually have their bland, very positive sounding names. The big problems usually are you generally don't know who's putting money into the PACs for a lot of the darker money ones, where it's like just a very bland, positive sounding one, and you really, really, really have to dig to actually figure out who's even funding some of these.
But
Well-
let me just ask a quick question. Two things. The PACs can't donate directly to the candidate, as far as I know, if I'm not mistaken.
They can contribute, and I'm looking at the chart right here, $5,000 per election officially.
Okay.
Yeah.
And wasn't it a super PAC that dug up that dirt on Kerry and how he wasn't a military hero and all that stuff? Like
Well,
the Swift boat
the Swift
one
boat,
where
Swift boating. Well, it was who was it? It was the name of someone who's now dead. He had brain cancer, and I forget the name of him. He was a big Republican operative who did the Swift boat attack, which was brilliant, And of course, Kerry was off parasailing, and he didn't respond quickly. He didn't get ahead of the story, and they just Republicans know how to destroy Massachusetts.
Yeah. Well, it's amazing that that the Republicans can somehow still get the military vote when they disparage Gold Star families. They disparage actual people that went to war and support a guy who stayed back because he got how many deferments from Bush got how many deferments, and then because he was in the National Guard, and then also Trump's bone spurs, So
I will say this is that then this is an old number. This is just off the top of my head. I know that the average campaign for the federal Senate costs on the average $3 million just to run a campaign. It might be up to $5 million. I'm just going to Google that. Yeah.
Well,
and that's the
they
same amount
don't
of
even
money.
take care of all of our soldiers. We really don't. It's sad. I hear the story so often. It's heartbreaking. It really is.
It is, because the worst part is that the VA gets slashed all the time, and it's usually it shouldn't be party politics, but it's usually the Republicans that are slashing the VA budget, and then they come and they say they give a crap about them, and it was the same crap with the 9/11 first responders bill, and that was that was Rand Paul, and he was there's seven circles of hell where he's gonna go, but I mean just it's. And wasn't it Barack Obama's second one was like almost? What was it? Was it Hillary Clinton or Barack Obama that had a $1 billion campaign? Like it was almost $1 billion raised or something like that.
I am not sure, but I can tell you this right here. I'm looking at the
that was Clinton.
That was Clinton. Okay.
Yeah.
It just shows you, though. All right. I just want to bounce back. Is that even though money does help overall, and there's no doubt about it, if you have bad strategy, or if you got a shit candidate, all the money in the world is going to get you over the line, basically. Yeah. All right. So this is from Reuters. I'm looking at a article called "Financial Sinkholes," and back in 2020, the last time that people ran for the House, right? If you were going to get past your primary, just getting past the primary itself was, I'm looking for the number that I just had right here. I believe it's $2 million. So even just getting past your primary.
Was that a senator or a representative?
That's a rep. So that's. Are
you fucking kidding me?
Oh my God.
$2 million just to become the nominee?
Yeah. So in Kentucky, Amy McGrath spent $92 per vote. Mitch McConnell spent $34 per vote. In South Carolina, Jamie Harrison, who is running against Lindsey Graham, spent $95 per vote, and Lindsey spent $44 per vote because they're red states, and they had
but those are senatorial candidates, right? So that they're obviously going to spend more, right?
Right, but that just shows you how much money you need to be just competitive.
Yeah.
You know, just to run
How
against
much you need to actually be part of the game.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, it's wrong. Like, I mean, you know, I guess there's the idealist in me wants to think that it can be someday solved, but you'll never get money out of politics in the US.
Well, you know, I mean, never's a long term. You know, if the country goes fascist and there are no elections, you know, we won't have to spend anything
Yeah.
on elections.
Yeah.
What would they
Positive
do with extra
thinking,
money?
Andy.
I remember back before the last presidential election, I talked to a guy running for president when he was standing at a bus stop handing out flyers. He was running his campaign fairly cheap, but I don't think he got all that many votes.
Mm. Mm. So the last president. Okay, yeah, I'm just looking through all kinds of charts right now, and that I'm going to stop doing that. Yeah, so money ruins everything, basically.
Big Zebra. You
But
don't
it's
have
such
to
a
have
useful
sex to
tool
become a
at the
nominee.
same hand too.
What's that?
I was
Sorry,
trying to say,
Tobin, we missed that.
tool at the same time though. I mean, like, it's how do you make that right? I don't
Well, you make laws.
know.
Yeah. You know, you get people agitated enough to actually to force ballot initiatives so that you have, I mean, to make the system change. I mean, the system got corrupted. You know, there's been a cycle of corruption and fighting against corruption in this country. It's gone back and forth. You know, this isn't the only cycle where the corrupt seem to be in charge and seem to be entrenched and will always be entrenched. There's, you know, like back in Tammany Hall during the 1880s, 1890s, you know, that was a fairly corrupt time too. That seems awfully optimistic for me. Yeah.
Yeah. And the corruption gets more sophisticated. They learn from their past failures, so they're able to entrench better each time.
Yeah. Yeah, there's all kinds of ways of skirting the system. You'll notice though, with when Bernie Sanders, for an example, ran for president, a lot of his contributions came from small, everyday citizens, right? $50 contributions or less. And so, and this is important for messaging too, by the way. This is one of the reasons, and I've touched on this before. This is one of the reasons why it's so difficult for Democrats to get on the same page, is because Republicans, they have big donors shoveling money into their system, and so they are beholden to those people who are shoveling money into the system. Democrats, especially if you're getting a lot of contributions from small donors, you have a lot more freedom to say what you want to say. So that's why it's difficult to organize Democrats in the same way that Republicans do.
So you're saying the Republicans have better messaging and the Democrats have better ethics?
I wouldn't say that at all. I'd say that the Republicans have better messaging. That I would agree with. And that's partly because of the system that they work in, their economic system, you know.
Well, messaging is relative to the situation, right? So
yeah. You know, you could ask yourself, Dave, just going back to a point that you made, if the Democrats had the same capabilities as the Republicans do, would they be as corrupt? And in what way? Like you can say that the Republicans are, especially this iteration of the Republican Party, they are pro-fascist. They are the fascist party. So their corruption leads to fascism. I think in terms of the Democrats' tendency to be corrupt, it would be I don't know, man. I don't think it would be in the same kind of way, their corruption, you know.
But you can also literally demonstrate by looking at the system and the history of the system. I mean, you know, as the election count came in, and from a few months before that, the messaging was all about ending gerrymandering and ending super PACs and ending this idea that the president doesn't have to turn over his taxes, and disclosure and transparency and honesty. And name one of those that has changed since Biden got into power. Right? He doesn't want it to change because he's playing on the same field.
Well, this is many a historian have pointed this out, that once a person becomes president, they're very, regardless of how they felt before they become president, they're suddenly pretty interested in preserving presidential power.
I think it's
I'm not saying
fascinating to
presidential
see
power. I'm
how.
talking the power of the election itself, the power of the corruption in the election, the power like gerrymandering. I mean, there is no great nation outside of the United States that doesn't look at gerrymandering and say, WTF? Why don't
Yeah.
you have an independent committee commissioning these, on behalf of a neutral party, possibly even a non-US neutral
Yeah.
party?
Yeah.
Right?
I mean,
To say this would be more accurate. This would be more representative of the people.
Yeah. Some states are going to a nonpartisan commission, but unfortunately, and I think we've touched about this a couple of weeks ago, the thing is that the nonpartisan commission, their findings have to be voted on the legislature.
Right.
So if the nonpartisan commission doesn't have any power to actually enact their decisions, then it's all just jerking off, basically. It doesn't mean anything. Not that jerking off doesn't mean anything, don't get me wrong, but it doesn't mean anything. Yeah.
So you're saying what they have to do is a non-gerrymandered map and send it through, and then it comes back to them with, all right, we'll meet you in the middle.
That's exactly what I'm saying, Dave. Sammy, were you going to say something?
Oh, I never have anything insightful to say, but I just find it interesting watching presidents physically change over their terms. It's like the dark side of the force.
Yeah.
It is.
Obama was really obvious when you look at him at the start of his term. In the end, he did do 8 years, admittedly, but he was so aged.
That was 8 years of hard time.
That his body must
well,
have been
his
under.
problem, and you could say that Trump didn't really, well, I mean, it's only 4 years, right? But you see, the secret is that when you don't care, it doesn't affect you.
That's what I was going to say.
Trump's superpower.
Trump looks the same.
His superpower is his psychopathy. He just doesn't care about other people, and so, or whatever goes on around him. If he was, if he was like Hitler in the bunker in 1945 and the Russians are coming into Berlin, he'd be like, how am I going to get out of this? He wouldn't care anything about the rest of the, what he did or anything. He would just be like, how to save his own skin. So, that is his superpower. And that, to tell you the truth, that is a superpower and a weakness too for sociopaths and psychopaths, is the fact that they don't care.
And in Trump's case, he has no bottom. Right? There is absolutely no place he will not go if he thinks it will benefit him to do so.
Oh yeah. Well, once again, that's part of the superpower, right? There's no break. It isn't like he isn't willing to pump the brake. There's just no break. He's like, what can I get away with? And then I'm just going to do that and see what happens. But that's a common trait for a lot of despots, right? Whether you talk about Stalin, the other guy we just mentioned, if I keep saying his name too many times, I'm going to get banned off of YouTube. Or Mussolini, they're all like, we're just going to see what happens. I'm just going to say these crazy things and do these crazy things, and if no one stops me, that means I can do it. Big Zebra says, I think the Catholic Church must be taxed. Well, that wouldn't be bad. And their status remains unchanged.
Yeah, see, like they have all the money being funneled to them. It just...
Yeah. Well, I think the victims of the schooling, of the residential schools in Canada, still haven't gotten their full payment from the Catholic Church. We covered that story like a month ago or two, when that was blowing up in the news.
Do you know they've found you guys don't see it in the media, but they've found a bunch more bodies.
Yeah.
And I forget what they said the other day, but the scope of this, they made a comparison. The number of bodies found now equates to, I think it was 9/11.
Yeah.
And nobody's talking about it. Nobody can shut up about 9/11, but nobody's talking about this. A bunch of children died on such a scale that it's an unimaginably horrifying event.
Yeah.
And the Catholic Church is doing as little as possible.
Not even an apology. Not even an apology. It boggles the brain. That's what it does.
And I don't think they're going to be forced to make reparations in any sort of way until the study is done. If you guys aren't aware, across Canada, the universities and the archaeology departments have pitched in and have been working with the Royal Canadian Mounted Police to go through these residential school locations and do ground scans and investigations to find additional bodies. And everywhere they look, they're finding more bodies.
Yeah. Well, you know, the Catholic Church, they have the same strategy as the tobacco companies did back in the day. Is that, or I don't know, those of you who are old enough to remember lead in gasoline or in paints. It's like, you know, these companies will do whatever they can to stonewall progress, to hold up whatever legal actions going on up until they absolutely definitely have to pay, and then pay them or do the least minimum possible.
Yeah. There's actually, if you go to the collector shows, you'll see like old die-cast toys that are in acrylic boxes, like completely sealed shut. And you're like, well, you can't play with it like that. And they're like, yeah, lead paint. You don't want to play with it.
I had a friend in real estate, and she was showing this apartment to a couple who had children, and she's like, "Well, you can't rent this place, or you know, the landlord would have to get rid of the lead paint in this apartment, and that would take time." They're like, "Well, we don't mind." This is exactly what they told her. We don't mind if there's lead paint. Our kids aren't going to be chewing on windowsills. And she's like, "You understand that lead tastes sweet, don't you?" It tastes sweet. Yeah. People just don't understand the risk. That's what it is. People don't understand.
And I've mentioned this before, but the asbestos abatement crews in British Columbia, the companies that do that are actually hiring prisoners out of the British Columbia.
I remember you saying that, Dave. Yeah.
So prisoners, they're like, yeah, if we get out for the day and we can actually do some work and make some money towards our fund in the prison, we'll go out and do it. And they put them in a painter's uniform with a respirator and gloves, and they duct tape them all up and stick them in these places to pull the asbestos out of the old buildings. Yeah.
And you got to wonder how good those respirators are, because it's like 9/11. You know, just going to you couldn't be here in the States without hearing something about the 9/11 Commission, about how crappy the government was treating, how they lied to people on the site in New York about the safety issues, about being around the debris. Who was it? Who was I listening? Steve Buscemi, the actor. He was a volunteer fireman for a number of years. Well, he worked as a fireman for a couple of years, and he worked downtown for 5 days after 9/11. So he went down there the day
after. Went back to the fire hall he served at. Yeah.
He went down there and helped, excavate bodies, move debris, all that stuff. Yeah. But he's like, yeah, no one told, we were lied to. And he said at the time, it's going to take 20 years for us to figure out that, or to get our heads around all the cancers and lung disease that this thing's going to cause. And then he said it was only 5 years. It was only 5 years before people started coming down with diseases directly related to working on the 9/11 sites.
To play the devil's advocate on that, there had not been a plane hit a major downtown center before that happened. There hadn't been an occupied building collapse. There hadn't been a lot of this before 9/11. So when they were saying, yeah, it's safe, sure, it's safe as far as we know, given the information we have and our historical, they didn't test the air. They didn't go around and do swabs.
Come on, Dave. Don't be an apologist for capitalism, Dave. They just wanted to get everything back into running order.
Okay, I like capitalism. Don't get me wrong. I like capitalism, but there
This
are
is an example that there are microparticles in the air. We're just going to tell you, just like this dumbassery about, and this is the thing about Buscemi said. I'm referencing the Mark Maron podcast. Buscemi was on. I listened to the whole episode. It was excellent. I recommend it. But Buscemi's like, it's just like COVID. They just want, there is a drive to get the economy up and running, and so they don't want you to understand how dangerous things really are. I remember the message was that you just got to put a T-shirt over your face or a bandana around your face, and you're going to now be safe from COVID. Yeah, there was similar stuff going on with being down there at the site, at the 9/11 site days afterwards.
But you know what you didn't hear a lot of is firemen saying, "I'm not wearing a mask. Masks are an infringement on my."
Oh shit.
Okay. So this is what I've gotten to, and I'm going to admit to doing something stupid before I look at what the screen share Sammy's doing. I don't know if anyone else has done this, but I'll be walking down the street outside, beautiful day, and and I'm not masking up when I'm outside, right? But every once in a while, people will pass me on the sidewalks, and I'll just hold my breath.
Oh yeah, I do that.
I have no idea how effective that is. I know it sounds really fucking dumb.
It doesn't, Andy. I do it. There you go. At least 3 of the 5 of us here do it.
QAnon, very nice, Dave.
QAnon X.
Very nice. Yeah, so I'll be like, "Hey, what's up, Digital Hammurabi?" Dr. Josh admitting that I hold my breath when I pass people on the streets when I'm unmasked.
There are people who are vaping or who have a prolific amount of cologne on, or people who are in the middle of changing a baby when you walk by. I hold my breath a lot.
Yeah. Well, it's the cologne issue, Dave. It's like if I could smell their cologne, if I could smell the Delta, I'd be smelling that right now.
I have to admit, being a motorcyclist, when I'm driving behind somebody and I can smell their vape, that means if they had COVID, I'm actually absorbing particles of their breath.
Oh yeah.
On the motorcycle, 30 to 50 feet behind them, driving slowly in traffic. But I have smelled guys in tractor trailers.
That's me,
like city
Dave.
trucks driving around where they drive by and 8
You're
seconds
driving
later,
behind me.
you can smell the Axe body spray coming out of the cab.
Right.
And they're on the other side of the cab. I'm on the sidewalk, right? So, yeah.
Smells good, doesn't it, Dave?
Good Lord.
All right. I'm going to share Sammy's screen here. What are we looking at, Sam?
So this was in January after our Royal Commission, something you were talking about earlier. I shared this ages ago. It did relate to what we were talking about at some point.
Sure.
The JWs said in a statement it did not join. So that one of the results of the commission was the redress scheme for victims.
Mm-hmm.
And the witnesses said that they did not join the redress scheme because they did not have the institutional settings that result in children being separated from their parents, such as youth groups, choirs, schools, and hospitals. Which is bullshit because they will take them witnessing and have book studies and all sorts of things. But long story short, they tried to go to church and fight it. And they say here, Jehovah's Witnesses have responded and will continue to respond directly to individual claims for redress in a caring, fair, and principled manner, taking into consideration the unique circumstances of each claim, which is their language for saying they'll keep it in-house. Thanks.
Yeah. Non-transparency.
Yeah. So the Catholic Church, everyone in Australia, all sort of institutional settings were put under a microscope and all made to join this redress scheme. And a few fought it, like the witnesses. And in April, the government ruled that anyone who didn't join was going to lose their charity status.
Yeah, I remember that.
So, lo and behold, the witnesses have turned around and joined the redress scheme
How about that?
this year recently. So good news in
Good news.
Australia.
That is good. That is good.
It's
Because
interesting
the
how.
Catholic Church has had to, and sorry, just to finish too, that the way that the commission has recommended and the government has followed through on is that the size of the church dictates directly how much reparation money they have to pay towards this redress scheme.
I like that. I like
So
that.
they have to divulge. They're not being taxed, but they have to divulge their paperwork.
There's a lot of church treasurers out there pooing themselves.
Hey, if I can just share a number, I wanted to clarify. Earlier, I said there was about the equivalent number of people that died at 9/11, and that's a little bit off. The sites that have been uncovered so far, there have been over 1,500 children's bodies discovered. The Catholic Church, the number of identifiable children who were documented as having died was 4,100.
Oh, wow.
How they died and the circumstances, who knows if that's correct or not, but that's a lot of kids.
Yeah, dude.
And the commission that's investigating into this estimates that they'll end up with about 3,200 unmarked graves.
Well, that's 9/11 numbers right there.
Well, it's 75% of, yeah.
You're in the ballpark.
But it's horrific. And I mean, we thought it was horrific when it was 192.
Yeah.
And nobody's talking about it at 1,500. And who's going to be listening at 3,200?
Well, it's that old statement about, one death is a tragedy, and X number of, a ton of deaths are just numbers, basically. People can't really conceive of those. That's why whenever you talk about genocide or you talk about victims, what journalists typically do is that they target one person. They tell one person's story so that it connects with you on a personal level. And then they say, oh, by the way, all these other people died too.
Well, that's why when the news is reporting it, they don't say a man died in a car accident on Highway 7. Right. They say Jim, the father of 3. Yeah.
And this is why it's so important when we're talking to people who are not good skeptics or not good humanists, or however you want to frame it, is that instead of trying to fact fuck them, is that, you go with maybe an anecdote first, and then you throw in a couple of facts after that. So you throw in an anecdote, like Dee was saying, it's like one of my friends, or television, it's like restaurant shutting down. You throw that in as an anecdote to connect the lizard brain, right, the midbrain, and then you just drop in a couple of facts, and maybe that'll shift some hearts and minds that way.
I get it now. So when I'm watching InfoWars,
you gotta make the story relatable.
You gotta make it relatable.
People will identify with it.
You got to make the data relatable. That's what you do. You got to make the data relatable.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
So, Andy, when I'm watching InfoWars and they're trying to sell me those vitamin pills,
right,
and they say a whole bunch of garbage about the pills, and then they say, and it's in a safety sealed bottle. That's the truth part that they're hooking me up with. Is that
that's completely true.
Yeah,
that's completely true. Yeah, we can't vouch for what's actually in the pill or the efficacy of the pill, but there is a container that you will see that you probably won't be able to open.
Well, you're saying about you have to make it relatable. Maybe that's how we can get the rest of America vaccinated, is tell them that it's moon water.
Moon water.
They'll go right for it. I'm telling you.
There is a story going around about a guy who bought some pills off of InfoWars, and he called them up because his dog had chewed through the package and ate all the pills while he was out. So he called them up and said, "Hey, my dog ate all these pills. What do I do?" And they said, "Oh, relax. Your dog will be fine."
Well, when we, once again, if you have kids, what's important is that you bring up these skeptical points as you are with them in everyday life. So my kids know that if the pills on the TV, the advertisement for the medicine doesn't have a list of side effects that have to be stated by law, then it's highly probable that that medicine or that treatment or that procedure is bullshit.
Is non-medicinal.
It's non-medicinal. There's no, it's just no effect. There's no real effects out of it besides placebo.
In Canada, we're pushing really hard to get the MLMs, specifically the aromatherapy and the vitamin therapy people. Yeah. We're pushing really hard to get the government oversight from our medical, the people who oversee all the medicines and everything. We want them to add a schedule for homeopathy, for all this stuff, to say that it absolutely is trash. It can't hurt you, or it can hurt you.
With that Young Living or Young Life, all these essential oils and stuff like that, all these women are like peddling these stupid oils. It's weird. It's strange.
The big one in Canada is doTERRA, and there are two.
Shamala Dave.
Eucalyptus and peppermint actually have properties that have medical effects, right? Everything else smells pretty. If they were selling it like that, it would be fine, but they're selling it as cancer treatment. They're selling it for respiratory distress. They're selling it for other stuff, and they absolutely need to be stopped.
Speaking, the sound of Shamala means we got to bring the show to the end. I'm sorry, that's just how this works out. Shamala.
Really?
A minute past. Sorry, my OCD. I watched that little red clock.
No show tomorrow or Wednesday.
We're doing a show, Andy. You're just not on it.
Once my schedule becomes certain, I do have a plan on how to do this. There's always going to be an after party after show. I'm probably just going to do pre-recorded news segments before this because I get out of work and then I got to get back home, and I won't be able to do a live news show. But I'm guessing the smart money is that there's always going to be some kind of after party. So that's my plan right now, everyone. On that being said,
so Biscuit video, when's that coming out?
Actually, I just sent like a 5-second video over to D on Messenger, and I was going to share it right now, but it's in the wrong format because
Put it on tomorrow morning at this time, so we can all pop in and see that.
I will do that. All right.
Awesome.
New Biscuit video. I'll see you all later.
Have a wonderful 2 days. We'll see you all soon.
Yeah. I'd rather be doing this, but hey, take care, everyone.
Here.